A deal. The stalemate over government funding has finally been broken, with Congress approving a bipartisan agreement to reopen the federal government after a 3-day partial shutdown. The deal will fund the government through February 8th. That's about 3 weeks. It passed overwhelmingly today in the Senate. Democrats gave GOP leader Mitch McConnell the support needed to reach the necessary 60 votes. Now the Democrats, they are hoping the majority leader will keep his word and hold a vote on DACA before the government runs out of money again next month.
If he does not, of course, and I expect he will have breached the trust of not only the Democratic senators, but members of his own party as well.
All right, let's go to the other side of the aisle now. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham is pushing for a broad bipartisan immigration bill. He says he is confident a deal can be reached.
Once we start talking about immigration and voting on immigration, we'll find 60 votes to make sure these DACA recipients' lives are not ruined.
White House aides say the president has been talking with Republican leaders, but has left most of the negotiating up to the Senate and members of his staff.
And while those votes were taking place in Washington, D.C., closer to home, hundreds of civilian employees who work at Travis Air Force Base in Fairfield were furloughed today, as well as over the weekend, and that included libraries and an adult education center that was shut down. Fox 40's Doug Johnson joining us live from the base today with what that meant for the airmen there. Doug.
Well, Ty, obviously the Air Force Base was not shut down. Active military still had to show up to their posts, and security here at the gate, they were out here in full force, but the majority of the civilian workforce, they did have to stay home.
So right now the shutdown is still in effect, and Travis is still doing its mission.
But it's a mission the Air Force Base had to do Monday without 909 civilian workers who were furloughed over the weekend. The Mitchell Memorial Library closed today as airmen returned their books and movies to a drop box. Classes were also canceled at the Airmen and Family Readiness Center. Base adult education services also closed.
We have testing there, and all the test monitors were furloughed, so we stopped all testing at this time.
But the base's fitness center was able to stay open. Brian Floyd, deputy director of the 60th Force Support Squadron, explains not all civilians were sent home.
256 were accepted, and those 256 that were accepted are either for life safety or national security.
So emergency service employees such as firefighters and doctors worked today. And there were some civilian employees at places like the gym who are not included in Congress's budget.
We had another 160 employees that are paid with non-appropriated funds, things like the golf course, the club, arts and crafts. Those employees are not paid by the appropriations that are being stopped right now with the government, so they are coming to work.
Had the shutdown continued, the commissary was scheduled to be closed on Wednesday. That would have forced active duty airmen who still had to report in during the shutdown to do their grocery shopping off base without military discounts. But now with today's deal in Washington to reopen the government, Floyd says it shouldn't take long to get those civilians back to work on the base by Tuesday.
Well, once it's signed by the president and everybody's aware of it, and the appropriations of the dollars are back, then we will notify them, call them through the recall roster, basically chain of command, and yes, bring them on base if they are in fact scheduled to work that day normally.
And youth services here on base also not affected, so the schools were open. But of course, everyone we spoke with on base says they're a little nervous about what's going to happen on February 8th. They're worried they might have to do it all over again. Reporting live at Travis Air Force Base tonight, Doug Johnson, Fox 40 News.
Doug, thanks a lot. Now to this.